feel fat today. And now you feel fat today also. You're welcome. And now there's a podcast.
Welcome back to I Feel Fat Today, the show where we dispel diet myths, see what's new in diet culture, and investigate your relationship with food. I'm your host, Kelly Taylor, and I'm back. We took some time off. Not really even off, honestly. Things got away from me. We had a few replay episodes. We took off for the Memorial Day holiday. I ended up not posting an episode last week because I was traveling for a friend of the show, Laura Sogard's wedding. And here we are now, and we're here with a solo episode, and I couldn't be happier to be sitting here talking to you and having you listen to this episode. Thank you for your patience. I'm really trying over here. Okay, so a few things to talk about, but first, as always, subscribe to our YouTube. I have to get this housekeeping out of the way at the very top of the show, but it's really, really important. If you're somebody that has stumbled upon this show because you were really in a rabbit hole on YouTube and you somehow came across the show I Feel Fat Today, and for whatever reason you clicked on it, please subscribe. It really helps, mostly just my morale, but really need to get those numbers up. So subscribe on YouTube, where we have full video episodes pretty much every single Friday. I have to say, I'm recording this the first week of June, and May 26, 2023 was the very first episode of I Feel Fat Today as we know it today. And so that's 2 years where this is going to be episode 92. So if there's 52 weeks in a year, I mean, that's pretty good numbers for someone doing it on their own. So subscribe on YouTube, where you can expect full video episodes every Friday. And you can head over to Apple Podcasts, where you can follow the show and leave us a 5-star review. It takes 2 seconds. It's fairly easy to do. And it really helps me out a lot. And number one, it's free. After you leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, head over to Instagram. You probably are on the app on Instagram right now as you're listening to this, where you can check out the Instagram page, I Feel Fat Today, all one word. Search that up in the Instagram search bar, I Feel Fat Today. Give us a follow. We got clips of the show on there. I post content. I'm going to try to be posting more because I'm on my phone every waking hour anyways. Might as well be posting content to the show's Instagram profile. And then while you're there, you can follow me, your host, Kelly Taylor, at Hello, This is Kelly. All right. I think that's all I want to ask you guys to do. And we'll get into the episode. All right. So something I've talked about this a little bit before on the show in the past, but it bears repeating, and it goes a little bit into what I have to discuss with everybody on this episode. I am going to read out the definition of body dysmorphia. Okay. So this is the definition of body dysmorphia from the National Library of Medicine. It's a .gov website, which with RFK Jr., I don't know how good that, how much weight that holds anymore. But yeah, I figured this was better than, WebMD. So body dysmorphic disorder, BDD, is a psychiatric condition defined in the American Psychiatric Association's Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders as a preoccupation with a perceived defect or flaw in one's physical appearance when, in fact, they appear normal. Often under-recognized, BDD is a prevalent psychiatric condition categorized by an all-consuming focus on perceived physical imperfections, leading to distressing repetitive actions and at times suicidal behavior and ideation. Individuals with BDD often seek unnecessary surgical interventions. That's the definition of body dysmorphia as per the National Library of Medicine. And the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because on Memorial Day weekend, while I did not post an episode, I used a photo of myself from about 10 years ago of myself down at the Jersey Shore for Memorial Day weekend. And I used it as promo. And here is the photo on the screen right now. And this was Memorial Day weekend of 2016. 2015. So it was 10 years ago. Memorial Day weekend, 2015. It was the summer after I graduated college, and I had a shore house at Belmar in Belmar, New Jersey, with a group of people. We were in a house. We called it the halfway house because the way the houses work down the shore, and I know for sure in Belmar because I lived there. Basically, if a house was set off further into the property and it was, a smaller house, it would be like 75 and a half, and the house in front would be 75. So we were a half number, and so we called it halfway house. And in this house, there was technically 4 bedrooms that were very small, and a living room, and a kitchen, and a disgusting bathroom. Like the fact that we showered in there, people fornicated in there, never me. It was bad. And the toilet often never worked. And we would throw parties and people would have to use that toilet. But yeah, anyways, so in that house was, in this photo, you can see just below my arm that I thought was disgustingly big, is a bed. And on that is a mattress. And on the floor, and that was my bed. And then directly across from that, within the same room, is my friend Judy's bed. So the two of us were in there, and then in this room where the photo is being taken, 2 girls lived in there, and then downstairs. This was the upstairs. Those were the only 2 things happening in the room upstairs, and then downstairs in the living room, we had 2 people, one person on the couch, another person on the futon. In the room past the living room was 3 or 4 girls. I think there was 3 girls in there. Chelsea, Alyssa, and someone else. And then past the kitchen was a room that had 2 or 3 guys. And so it was very ratchet, but it was so fun. And I had the time of my life that summer, and this was the weekend in 2016 that kind of like kicked off all the fun. And I was so happy. I was so excited. You can see in this photo, I'm wearing a translucent belt bag that I was so excited about, because really in 2016, everyday people were not wearing belt bags the way that, people wear fanny packs now across their kind of the front of their body. And this was actually an Erin Dana belt bag. Erin Leachy, who is on the Real Housewives of New York City reboot, tried her hand at handbag design and was a client of a company I worked at. And so I felt so cool wearing an independent designer's bag that was so different from what everyone else was wearing. And, I had my Gladiator sandals and my Forever 21 very thin, completely see-through tank top and these floral shorts from Forever 21 that I just I don't even know how I even acquired them, because even at that point in my life, I was so certain that I couldn't fit into Forever 21, which was crazy because I absolutely could. And if you were to tell this girl who is 22 at the time, 21 or 22, actually it was 22, that she has body dysmorphia, she would probably drunkenly cry, scream at you that you're lying to her, just trying to make herself feel better, and that no, she actually is a fat, disgusting pig. And I look back at this photo, and yes, of course, I'm like flooded with memories of wonderful times that I had with my friends that summer. It was truly the best summer of my life, like peaked at 22 fully. I was filled with so much pain and so much self-doubt and so much hurt, and I acted out because of it, and kind of partied my way through the pain, for better or for worse. And it's interesting because this is also something that I feel like I've talked about a little bit on the show, but before iPhones, we had the main way to take pictures when we went out was digital cameras. And like, yeah, you had a digital camera that had the little tiny screen, but you really just kind of like snapped a photo and you couldn't get the full effect of the photo from the little screen. And then even before the digital cameras were Polaroids, where you'd have to, wait like a week to get the photos developed. At least with the digital camera, like you had to wait a night. And there's something psychological that happens when you have to wait to see a photo that has just been taken of yourself. Because there's, at least for me, there's something that happens where when a photo is immediately taken of me and then I see it right away, I am filled with dread and disgust. And I don't know if I'll ever be in a body where I don't have that feeling. The only thing that has truly gotten me through the psychological terror of dealing with that all the time is just radical acceptance, and just like not getting in photos and not asking for a million retakes, like getting in a photo and accepting whatever is taken. Because now I look back at a photo from 10 years ago and I think, my God, that poor girl had no idea that she had such a skewed perception of herself. And it's, hopefully as you work on your feelings of self-doubt and, seek medical treatment, like a psychiatrist or a therapist, to treat things like body dysmorphia. Now, so I look back at this photo where I'm outwardly happy but internally dying and wishing I had looked different. And I'm here in 2025, full 10 years later, in a body that I have struggled to accept. And some days I do, some days I don't. And it's kind of part of the whole impetus of this podcast is just exploring that concept of just, having a body that you can stand to live in. And doesn't matter how I've looked throughout my life. I've always struggled with accepting how I look, whether I've looked like this little teeny bopper here or, who I am now. And, something that I've talked about on here in the past, but it bears repeating, is that I feel like a concept I've explored is the body I have now is the body I feared I had when I was much thinner, and navigating how that feels, and the world we live in that body, and bumping into someone from your past and thinking, oh my God, the last time they saw me I was like 50 pounds lighter, like having to like think of that, or meeting someone new for the first time and trying to get past the mental barrier of thinking like the way I look is the first thing about me, and I feel like I need to prove who I am outside of the way that I look. And I think despite being in a body now that I wish was thinner more times than others, I think that's there's still dysmorphia happening, because I could be my own self's worst nightmare and someone else's dream body, truly. And so I think it's just something to you think about when you're feeling really, really bad about yourself and the way that you look, and, really questioning, like, am I being dysmorphic? There's also something on the other side of that that I totally experienced, especially I think COVID was a major factor in me feeling this way. But what I mean to say is I've been in bigger bodies than I am now, and it's almost like my brain was tricking me into thinking that I looked smaller, which is weird. Like, why would you be in a small body and think you're bigger, and be in a big body and think you're smaller? I don't know what that is, but it's something that a lot of people experience. And so now I think now I'm just kind of trying to exist and not think about the body, which is why I really enjoyed the concept of body neutrality. But I found it interesting that, I have this photo from 10 years ago, and of course it's my iPhone that's taunting me with these photos popping up on my phone and reminding me that at one point in my life I looked like this and lived my life like this. I received a video, present day, from one of my dear friends. She was randomly watching her wedding video that she had gotten back from her videographer, and I was maid of honor in this friend's wedding, and she texted me and was like, I forgot how amazing your speech was. And like I'm watching my wedding video and I haven't cried at anything. The only thing I've cried at is this speech that you gave. And, she was so lovely and telling me, you are so good at writing and I want to send you the video, and I think that you should, clip that part out and, post it or something. And so I said, yeah, send me the video. Because my first reaction, especially when someone is complimenting any of my work, especially in, the creative field, is to want to share and show people my talents and maybe, provide a service, like a writing assistant service. And she sent me the video. And I scrub over to the part where I'm giving the speech, and I am disgusted by myself. And I really wanted to just completely like self-flagellate and shut my computer and not even look at it. And I think through therapy, I've been able to discover an ability to stop and literally take a breath and think, where was I when this was recorded? Like, what was happening in my life? And I think back, okay, that was September of 2024. September of 2024, I don't think I put out episodes of this show because it was the worst month of my life, I think. Truly, I think it was one of the worst months of my life. I was fresh off of the heels of my boyfriend Joe losing his stepdad in August, like only a few weeks before, less than a month before, which was so devastating and painful, and still is, but it was raw. And I was in a position with my job at the time of this speech being recorded and at my friend's wedding, where I knew at any moment I was about to get fired. And I did get fired about a week later, thank God. But it was I was in such pain, and I hated myself. I hated the way that I looked. I felt like I was a sopping wet rag that couldn't dry, and just like, and the one beam of light in that time period was working on my friend's speech, where I got to be maid of honor and give a 5-minute speech on our relationship. And, you know, just it's truly an honor to do that at someone's wedding. And, you know, things like that remind me, especially that I hadn't recorded a podcast. I hadn't written stand-up. I hadn't gotten on stage to do stand-up in the weeks following my, you know, essentially my father-in-law's passing. And it brought me so much joy. And recollecting all of that, thinking of all of that, kind of grounded me in the moment of looking at this video that I was trying to kind of cut up and clip to post. And it gave me the ability to do that. And instead of posting an episode on Memorial Day weekend of this year, I did post that speech to my I Feel Fat Today YouTube channel. So it is there if you want to check it out and see what I'm referencing. And I look back at that girl and I am so glad. I'm glad I'm not this girl in 2016 or 2015, and I'm glad I'm not this girl from September 2024, because who I am now and where I am with how I feel about myself and just where I am in life is so much better. And yeah, and it definitely was a lot to overcome. Even once I got to a place of being grounded and got to a place where I could like keep my laptop open and you know, work on cutting and captioning this 5-minute speech, I still felt uncertain about, you know, posting it on the internet, sharing it, because I didn't think I looked flattering, and I didn't like the fact that people could perceive me in a light that I didn't like. But I persevered and I posted it, and you know, I said I deserve to let people see that I have this ability, and you know, give myself the opportunity to make a little bit extra pocket change, and you know, advertise my writing services for things like maid of honor speeches, best man speeches, you know, speeches in general, vows, and give people a sample of my work, despite me having so much self-doubt. So yeah, whether I am fitting into a pair of 2015 Forever 21 shorts, or if I feel like I'm crawling out of my skin wearing a purple sequin dress at my best friend's wedding, I don't know if I'll ever feel uncertain about my body. But I can say that in the year of our Lord 2025, I feel a lot better about my coping mechanisms and daily habits that make it so I don't feel like I'm crawling out of my skin as much. So yeah, and that kind of brings me to my next thing that I want to talk about on this show before I end with the topic of Liv Schmidt, which we will get to. Something I had planned on recording a solo episode a few weeks ago, but it didn't end up happening scheduling wise. And I had a story that I wanted to tell my listeners about. So you probably have listened to the episode with El Orlando, and if you haven't, you should. But on my episode with El Orlando, she talked about how she really makes a concerted effort to not constantly have headphones in and constantly be listening to music or a podcast, so that her mind can be a little bit more free and, thoughts can generate without noise, which is something I struggle with. I feel like I always have my headphones in, and I am always wanting to take in info like a podcast or music so that I don't have to have thoughts rumbling around in my head. And she said something to me that really stuck with me. She said, it's all about what you value. And I value writing and creating and having creative thoughts and giving myself space to generate these new creative thoughts. And I realized I value that. So I said to myself, I'm going to take my dog on a walk, and I'm going to not have headphones in because I just want to give it a try, because it's so second nature to like put your headphones in. And so this was actually Easter Sunday. I got back from New Jersey in like the late afternoon, and the sun was shining. So I said, what the hell, let me take the dog for a walk. And I'm on my usual route that I usually do when I take my dog for a walk on a Sunday. And I hear someone behind me. And at first I don't realize that they're talking to me or about me, but I hear this person murmuring under their breath, and they're saying something to the effect of, they're talking about my weight disparagingly to themselves. And I heard them because I didn't have my headphones in, and they walked by me, and this is probably a kid in his like early 20s. Like, he was a young person. And I always feel hesitant to confront people, but I was so taken aback by him. He said something about like him not even being able to walk on the sidewalk because I was taking up too much space, like something to that effect. And so he walked past me, and I was like, do you have a fucking problem? And he stopped, because it's like I was shocked that I said something, and he was shocked that I said something. And he I forget what he said back to me, but we kind of had a back and forth, and he was being really mean to me. And I think I said something really like lame of like, oh, I hope you find the help you need or something, whatever. But I was like, I couldn't believe that I had had this interaction. And I laughed at myself, like, here I am trying to make an effort to not block out the world around me and have thoughts come to my head by not having AirPods in. And I get verbally assaulted, essentially. And sometimes the universe will do that. Sometimes the universe will immediately put you in your place when you think you're trying to do something, which is fine. But the reason why I even want to bring this up in the first place was I have such healthier coping mechanisms now, because if this had happened in September of 2024, or even October or November of 2024, and I had had an interaction like this, I probably could have ended up on the evening news with my reaction. Like, I would have full-blown Karen'd meltdown, and which it would have been justified, I think, but I would have had a complete and total implosion of my emotions. And who knows what would have happened if I was in a much more unhealed place of something like that happening. And the fact that I was able to have like a interaction where I felt like I stood up for myself, but like I wasn't a little bitch about it, made me feel really good, and just kind of helped me see that I'm a lot more healed and evolved than I once was. And I truly attribute it to having a workout routine. I think that I found a lot of power in bar, and I feel like I bring it up every episode, and I'm so embarrassed by it, and like it's probably a broken record for people that listen to this show, but I really enjoy. I'm really happy that I found something that, even though at times I don't want to go, or at times I don't feel adequate enough to go, or I feel out of place in the studio, I'm so glad that I found something that has imparted me with this feeling that I can do anything, and it doesn't matter what the hell other people have to say about me. I am capable of so much, and what this little shithead 20-something's, snark ass remarks about me, whatever he has to say means absolutely nothing. And I'm for his sake, I'm happy that I've been really diligently working on myself through physical exercise and biweekly talk therapy. Okay. So that's some updates, some stuff I wanted to go over. And now we're going to get into, we're going to revisit Liv Schmidt. Hold, please. I need to take a sip of water. Okay. How are we doing on time? About 30 minutes. Okay. A few weeks ago on the podcast, I did an episode about Remy Bader getting weight loss surgery and the podcast that she did to come out with that info. And I used that as an opportunity to talk about Skinny Talk. And we talked about characters like Mina Zali and Liv Schmidt. And wouldn't you know, a few weeks later, The Cut did an article about Liv Schmidt. And I toyed with the idea of talking about it on the show, but I read the article and I thought I have to talk about it on here. So I'm actually just going to read the article from The Cut, and it's not too long. And by listening to it here, you don't have to pay for it. So I think that there is some... this is important to talk about. Like when we're talking about Skinny Talk, when we're talking about it being dangerous, when we're talking about people like Liv Schmidt and how they're really not just promoting a healthy lifestyle, that they are exploiting young girls, they're exploiting mental illness. It goes over a bunch of that in this article by The Cut. So without further ado, it's called It's Like This Little Cult of Being Skinny. In Liv Schmidt's subscriber-only group, members encourage one another to eat as little as possible. Last year, Emma, a 37-year-old teacher, broke up with her boyfriend. He had often taunted her about her weight, leaving snarky Post-it notes on her clothes and telling her she needed to eat better. He told me I was so fat that no one else would ever love me, she said. After they broke up, his words still haunted Emma, who has used a pseudonym for privacy. She spent a lot of time scrolling through #SkinnyTalk, a growing community of weight loss influencers, where she found Liv Schmidt. A 23-year-old model in New York City, Schmidt encourages her followers to, quote, live the skinny girl lifestyle by following her weight loss advice. When Emma stumbled on her TikTok, Schmidt had more than 600,000 followers. She was shocked by some of the things Schmidt said. In one video, she mocks women who wear sundresses to hide their puffy face and bloated bodies. She once reposted a TikTok with the caption, "Girls be 300 pounds saying I'm a snack. No, Megatron, you're a fucking vending machine." Emma was intrigued. I just figured, okay, if she was able to get that thin, she could help me lose this last 15 pounds, she told me. Emma signed up for the Skinny Society, Schmidt's subscriber-only Instagram group, for $20 a month. Members gain access to exclusive content on Schmidt's Instagram page, including recipes, workout videos, and diaries of everything that she eats in a day. They also were added to a group DM thread on the platform where they share their weight loss goals and progress. Emma joined and she saw members posting their step counts, meal plans, and before and after photos. She couldn't help but notice many were quite young. Some appeared to be in college or high school, posting after graduation, or sharing prom pics. I felt like I was old enough to be their mother, she said. During this time in the skinny society, Emma's life became dominated by a single obsession: food, and how to avoid eating it. She frequently felt weak and exhausted. At one point, she said she had been on the treadmill at the gym for 1 minute. When she had to get off, she was lightheaded and drenched in sweat. Every time she opened the app, she saw a new video or message from Schmidt urging followers to eat clean, feel light, or to chug water or green tea to trick their bodies into ignoring hunger cues. Her subscribers couldn't get enough. They are also obsessive, but it's hard to not become obsessive too, Emma said. It's like this little cult of being skinny. In interviews, Schmidt, who didn't respond to requests for comment, had claimed she merely offered common sense weight loss advice. The goal of the Skinny Society, she says, is to hold members accountable and support their goals. But where's the line between embracing diet culture and promoting eating disorders? Inside the group, members post ridiculously high step counts and commiserate over the side effects of their low-calorie diets, like hair loss and dizziness. Though the group is technically closed to those under 18, when I joined, I found more than a dozen members who are high school students, one of whom is a freshman. Last fall, Schmidt was kicked off TikTok after the Wall Street Journal asked the platform for comment on a story about her. Her fans rallied into her defense, and she made the band part of her brand, arguing that she's the victim of censorship. In April, the conservative women's magazine Evie featured her in a glowing profile with the headline, "Banned for Being Honest?" Now she's more popular than ever and has quadrupled her follower count on Instagram. Airmail recently estimated that Schmidt makes $130,000 a month from the 6,500 members in the Skinny Society. She takes the influencer playbook a step further, directly profiting off of a little club of followers who encourage one another to eat, drink, and live just like Liv Schmidt. In March, she reposted a photo from a follower who wrote a paper about how much she looks up to Schmidt. Her content has helped and continues to help so many young girls form a healthy relationship with food and exercise, this fan wrote. She truly exemplifies the values of what a role model should be. In Schmidt's videos, she's usually clutching a tea or a green juice and wearing a slinky black athleisure set, her lips glossed and her long blonde hair pulled back from her face as she demonstrates her 5-minute ab workouts or posts behind-the-scenes content from modeling photo shoots. She comes across as a knowing older sister type, the sorority big who has her shit together and can get you all into the best parties. I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. You're doing everything right except one thing, Schmidt says in one recent video about why you're not losing weight. You're a smart girl. You just need to stop overeating and eat less. Her subscriber-only grid features glamorous black and white stock photos of svelte models on yachts or Italian piazzas, sipping coffee or demurely slipping on designer sunglasses, with captions like, "What to do when people comment on your food," and "How I stayed silent, skinny, and unbothered." In Schmidt's world, thinness isn't just a physical state, but the basis of an entire luxury lifestyle. Schmidt is capitalizing on a cultural moment when extreme thinness has become more acceptable. Though she has the largest following of the Skinny Talk influencers, there's also Anna Dobler, a fat loss and mindset coach, who makes videos enumerating things you're doing that are keeping you stuck and fat. And Manda Zagami, a Miami-based influencer with almost 350 TikTok followers, who lectures followers who are built like a Buffalo Big Back or a little linebacker. These women exhort their followers in a blunt, tell it like it is tone to ignore the impulse to eat and focus on self-discipline and control. Dobler told me skinny talk isn't about promoting eating disorders, but about showing women they're allowed to want more from themselves. Tracking your food doesn't mean you're obsessive, she says. It means you're informed. Both TikTok and Meta, Instagram's parent company, have policies against encouraging eating disorders. But if you search skinny or skinny talk on TikTok and Instagram, in addition to a warning and a list of resources for people struggling with eating disorders, you'll see thousands of videos of very thin women showing off their extremely low-calorie diets. Meta's policies, a spokesperson told me, attempt to strike a balance between removing potentially dangerous pro-anorexia content and providing a space for people to talk openly about recovery. The company's attitude towards ED content seems to be, we know it when we see it. Still, Schmidt is careful. She uses language that frames choosing not to eat as empowering, even feminist. Eat like you're the main character, because you are, she writes in one post. Eat like your highest self is watching. Eat like your next weigh-in is tomorrow. She doesn't advocate for specific diets or tell her followers to avoid specific foods, which differentiates her from most weight loss influencers. Her rule of thumb is simple. Eat whatever you want, just as little as possible. You're not restricting, you're regulating. It's chic, she says in another post, next to a photo of a woman in a scarf and sunglasses in front of the Eiffel Tower. As someone who spent a lot of time on ED Tumblr as a teenager, obsessively reblogging images of Calvin Klein era Kate Moss and Cassie from Skins, I understood Schmidt's appeal. This community aestheticized the brutal private experience of slowly starving myself, rendering it both visible and communal. I wanted to know if the Skinny Society served the same purpose for Schmidt's fans. When I signed up, I got access to her subscriber-only content and main group chat, the Skinny Society Secrets. There are also 21 different group threads, which have about 220 members each. Other than a chat for moms and one specifically for Europeans, they're otherwise indistinguishable, and I chose one at random. I knew that my history of disordered eating could make me vulnerable to Schmidt's advice, but I also hoped that with nearly a decade of therapy would protect me. It didn't. I thought about Schmidt in the thread basically every waking moment. I did her arm exercises while making breakfast for my toddler. I swapped out my morning bagel for a protein shake, my lunch for a bag of popcorn and a LaCroix. I added her recommended fiber supplements to my morning coffee so I would feel fuller sooner. I checked my step count religiously, and every time I was hungry for a snack in the middle of the night, which was quite often considering how few calories I was consuming, I told myself, the kitchen is closed, one of Schmidt's mantras. It was like a dormant part of my brain had been switched on. All I could think about was being skinny, because that was all everyone in my DMs was thinking about too. Schmidt hadn't eliminated any food noise. She had turned the volume up to the point that it was deafening. It feels like everyone is enabling each other's eating disorders, Annie, a 20-year-old former member of the group, told me. She joined the Skinny Society because she had gained a little bit of weight in recovery from anorexia, and Schmidt's advice seemed simple and straightforward enough. Eat less and walk more. It didn't take long, however, for Annie to realize that there was something wrong. It was extremely competitive. Who could eat less? Who could weigh less? Who was living the most skinny lifestyle, she said. One member, Annie said, had a history of binge eating and would regularly post photos of her meals, which consisted solely of vegetables. The girls would praise her and support her, she said. No one thought to advise her towards possibly seeking professional help. Some former members I spoke with said the women in their chat would regularly discuss experiencing dizziness, fatigue, and brain fog. Emma told me that people often talked about their periods becoming irregular or experiencing hair loss. 2 common side effects of disordered eating. None of the members in the group said, maybe you should chill out, she said. They just recommended hair vitamins to each other. Another woman who joined the Skinny Society to lose weight after giving birth told me she saw some members eating less than 1,000 calories a day, going against Schmidt's guidelines to not post meals less than 1,200 calories. To not post meal plans less than 1,200 calories. I also saw women exchanging tips. One said she put on mouth tape after dinner to deter nighttime snacking, while another woman said she used prunes as laxatives whenever she feels heavy. One woman posted a screenshot showing she had taken 27,000 steps in one day. 5 members hearted it. Congratulations, one wrote alongside balloon and champagne bottle emoji. Periodically, I'd leave one Skinny Society group chat and join another so I could get a representative sample. And this was the case in virtually every chat I joined. The members didn't treat it as a weight loss accountability group, as Schmidt refers to it, but an opportunity to one-up each other. They congratulated one another for making it through social events without eating too much, or berated themselves for having a few bites of a cupcake. Schmidt doesn't appear to monitor the private group chats, only occasionally posting copy and paste prompts. How is everyone staying skinny this weekend? Though she reminds the members that she's not qualified to treat eating disorders. In the message in the Skinny Society Secrets main thread last month, she wrote that the group is not a binge eating recovery community, nor is it a starvation or extreme diet community, and that those struggling with disordered eating should seek professional help. Is she responsible for what they do? The Skinny Society is a weight loss group, and those who join it know what they're signing up for. As Schmidt writes in her community guidelines, you will be eating less than normal if your goal is weight loss. That's science. Still, it's one thing to build a community of adults to encourage one another to starve themselves. It's another to let teenagers in. Though Schmidt says the group is only open to biological girls over the age of 18, she didn't verify my age when I joined. And 3 people told me they noticed members in the chat whom they believed to be in high school because they referred to homework. I easily found at least 12 members who listed their high schools in their bios, and I confirmed their ages by cross-referencing with their other social media profiles. A member in one thread recently mentioned that she was graduating high school that day. Congrats, another member wrote. You'll be the skinniest girl at your graduation. When I reached out to Meta to share my reporting on the group, including screenshots showing extremely low-calorie food diaries and Schmidt's advice on chugging water and tea to stay full, a spokeswoman said that the company has taken action on several pieces of content from this account for breaking our rules, but did not specify what content had been removed. If we find repeated violations, we'll take further action, which could include removing the account completely, the spokesperson said. After the story was published, Meta said, after careful review, we've restricted this account so it's only visible to people over 18 and is no longer able to offer subscriptions or use any of our other monetization tools. Schmidt said she has never had an eating disorder. Her own exercise and meal diaries show she does at least one workout and walks a minimum of 15,000 steps a day. Her meals include electrolytes, green tea, honey, Greek yogurt for breakfast, and a green salad and a few almonds and mustard, 2 cups of mint tea and honey for lunch. It's a very low-calorie eating plan, obviously, Melanie Rogers, a certified dietitian and nutritionist, told me when I showed her some of Schmidt's food diaries. What she's eating is not enough to sustain her even without activity. Recommending such a plan to her followers is dangerous for those at risk of developing eating disorders, Rogers said. I get Schmidt's all-consuming obsession with thinness. Eating disorders are one of the deadliest and most difficult illnesses to treat. Once you start hearing a little voice whispering in your ear, telling you to restrict or binge or purge or go on the treadmill or go for a walk, it's incredibly hard to stop listening to it. Perhaps that explains, at least in part, why the group chat members are so loyal to Schmidt. She often reposts DMs she receives from her followers, thanking her for changing their lives. People idolize her, Emma said. They would kind of beat themselves up over their food diaries because they wanted theirs to look just like hers. And maybe they had like 9 extra calories that day. Emma ultimately left the group, allowing her subscription to lapse when she realized how little Schmidt was eating. I was like, dang, a child eats more than this, she said. Allison, a 28-year-old with a history of binge eating, also left the Skinny Society just a few months after she joined. Like others in the group, she started experiencing physical side effects like dizziness and fatigue. Liv would say this is normal as your body is adapting to losing weight, she said. More than anything else during this time in the group, Allison was struck by just how much Schmidt inculcated her followers with a deep obsession with food, despite claiming that she would teach people to think about it less. All she ever spoke about was food. She would talk about being hungry. She looks forward to her next meal. How the amount of time she put into being skinny was suffocating. It's actually pretty sad. Allison now regularly posts about Schmidt on Reddit snark pages, urging those who have signed up for the Skinny Society to ask Instagram for refunds. Schmidt has started threatening followers with legal action if they leak outside of the group. Please don't join my subscription, consume the content, and then dispute it. If you don't like it, just leave, she wrote in one message. In a bid to increase her engagement, Schmidt recently announced a Skinny Society Ambassador program, which includes access to exclusive events with her, like a candlelight Pilates experience, as well as gift cards and free products like under eye patches from skincare brands like New Face. Ambassadors are selected based on how frequently they promote the Skinny Society on their accounts, including by posting meals, step counts, and walking videos with Schmidt's new hashtag #NotFatToday. I'm still trying to find ways to tune out Schmidt's voice. I've muted her on Instagram and deleted the Skinny Society thread. But one of the scariest things about having an eating disorder is that you'll have to fight it the rest of your life. Those I spoke to felt the same way. Since the age of 13, I've been tracking calories and always striving to be skinny, Annie said. After joining this group, I realized that I don't see this thought process ending anytime soon. She said there were women as old as 28 in her group thread who were obsessed with being thin. I fear my life will be the same, she said. As someone who's much older than 28, I wanted to tell her honestly that there are more important things in life than being thin. What I couldn't tell her honestly is that the noise will never stop. Okay, so that was the entirety of the article from the Cut. It was a little bit longer than I anticipated, but I thought it was really good. And instead of just giving you a synopsis, I read the whole thing, and it was so much in here. But the number one thing was really just how dangerous the basis of skinny talk in particularly and weight loss influencers like Liv Schmidt are. It really is dangerous. It's pro Anna Tumblr. It's MySpace pro Anna groups repackaged in a Gen Z way. And dare I say it's a little bit more accessible than pro Anna Tumblr and those sites back then, 10 years ago. I think that, you see any 12-year-old, they're addicted to their phone, addicted to Instagram, knowing that there could be, someone as young as a freshman in high school having access to this kind of rhetoric is, namely, number one, dangerous to the health of the child. And number two, I think at the very least, it's setting an unhealthy precedent for a woman's especially role in society and their place in society. And I mean, just even the fact that a conservative magazine kind of spotlit her as being this defiant voice in the face of cancel culture for just being honest is a really bad example for young girls. Not to mention it's exclusionary because it's also meant, according to Schmidt, to for biological women, and it's dangerous. It's flat out dangerous, and I think that if you are someone in your 30s or your 40s or your 50s, 60s, that could, I don't want to say fall victim, but yeah, fall victim to this kind of rhetoric, and paying $20 a month to hear it as well, is imagine how it is being a prepubescent or a pubescent child who is seeking any kind of validation for the way that they feel about themselves and looking for the green light to choose an unhealthy path to thinness. And it's really unfortunate. And so I think it was great. This article spotlit the danger of those things, and I'm glad that I got to read it. I would love to talk to somebody on the show that has had an experience with being in the skinny society. So I'm going to try to source someone to do that and have that conversation. But this went on longer than I anticipated. So I am going to exit now. Thank you so much for listening this week. We'll be back next week. And follow us on Instagram at I Feel Fat Today. Follow me on Instagram. Hello, this is Kelly. Subscribe to us on YouTube and give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. This has been the I Feel Fat Today podcast. I'll catch you next week. Bye.